Just finally, for me, we spoke before the race and I asked you about your relationship with him, your friendship with him. Do you still feel the same way now? Will you speak to him?
I don't know, it depends what he says. If he says he did nothing wrong, then I lose a lot of respect for that.
Racing accidents. Crashes like this happen all too commonly now in motorsport, and no matter what happens, always ends in something bad. However, some incidents end up costing an entire race victory. Obviously, a huge example of this is the 2019 Canadian Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel had led the race for the majority of the time and kept a significant race lead over second place Lewis Hamilton. Of course though, it obviously didn't stay like this.
Just came on the track, so David.
Sebastian Vettel has been given a 5-second time penalty.
We've got a 5-second time penalty for unsafe re-entry. Head down. We have Hamilton 3 seconds behind.
I had nowhere to go. Seriously, I had nowhere to go. I didn't see him.
Copy.
Sure enough, a near identical story unfolded in GT7. Right, for convenience sake, I've made a mind map to make it more clear for you guys to see what's actually happening. So the first integral part of the puzzle is Flaming Default, or Kynan. It's quite important to know that he's already won 2 championships up to this point, both in Super Formula, and for this season in LMP, has decided to join Toyota, his teammate being Jack. In this point of the season, however, he was in a lonely 5th, even behind his own teammate. The other protagonist in the story was Stanley Donaldson. For Stanley, however, unlike Kynan, who has competed in every season, this is Stanley's second, which consequently means that he's still chasing his first victory. For this season, Stanley will run under Orange Apex and team up with Leonard Rees, or Daniel. The Orange Apex car sat 7th and 9th in the Drivers' Championship, with Stanley in particular getting his first 2 podiums ever. In the Constructors, however, Porsche and Toyota were fighting heavily for first place. Further down the order, you'll see Orange Apex in 6th place. Something very important to note though, is that these two are really good friends. It means, to the point, Kynan literally brought Stanley into this league. That's the mind map done now, and we can actually move to the race weekend. A real shock actually happened in qualifying when Kynan took pole position ahead of P-Player. The reason this was a shock is because up to this point, P-Player had got 3 out of the 4 poles in the past. Further down the order, you'd find Jack and then Stanley. Behind them would follow Dom and then Leonard Rees. Luckily for Toyota, Porsche weren't going to race this weekend, so no matter what, they were going to lead the Constructors at the end of the race. And so with Kynan leading the field away, round 5 in Catalonia has begun. Kynan was to keep the lead, but Jack moved himself up to 2nd place ahead of P-Player and makes it a Toyota 1-2 entering the first corner. Stanley has also moved himself up to 3rd place as P-Player continued to drop off the pace at the start. Unfortunately for Kynan, he couldn't hold on to the lead for long, and Jack took the lead around halfway through the lap. A couple laps into the race, the first pit stops happened for Kynan. Jack followed him in a lap later, and so did Stanley. Once again, unfortunately for Kynan, he got jumped by Stanley and Jack in the pit stops. Kynan, however, would get back past the next lap. Nearing the end of the race, Kynan and a bunch of other drivers came in for their second and final pit stops. For Stanley, however, he was going to stay out and try to do the one-stop strategy. But with the laps dwindling down, he could start to see everyone closing in on him, and at a rapid pace. Luckily for him though, Jack would have a half spin and drop out of the lead fight. It was now Kynan versus Stanley for the lead of the race. P-Player was behind, sure, but he wasn't going to close in with the amount of time left. And Kynan would get a run up the hill and then pull towards the inside line. He had now set him up for one last gasp at getting his first victory of the season. For Stanley, however, this would mean a whole lot more. So going down the hill, some would say that the inevitable happened. Sure, Kynan would have the win for now, but just a day later, it was announced that he would receive a 10-second penalty and drop down to 3rd place. The LMP championship ended up being won by Vasco, a Porsche driver. Jack ended up finishing second, but Kynan ended up finishing fourth. For Stanley, seventh is the best he could do, with no other podiums after Barcelona. So Stanley wasn't able to get a win, but surprisingly, neither was Kynan. Luckily for him though, the next championship was GR2, where he got his third and for now final championship. Stanley's first win after that was Stock Car Season 2, the very next championship, with one win coming from High Speed Ring and the other being a memorable victory in Le Mans. And while this incident alone didn't define the future of these two people, it certainly still stands as one of the most controversial moments in GT7.